Hey everyone, this is Julia. Welcome to this video. I am Silicon Valley's dating coach, and if you're watching this, you've likely booked a call with me. I'm gonna give you some awesome tools today before our call, and regardless of whether we work together or not, this video is gonna give you some real value that you can start applying today. So we're gonna be talking about the 4 phases to develop charisma with Bay Area women. By the end of this video, you will know your path to a romantic partnership in the Silicon Valley. So we're going to go over the 4 phases to go from overthinking to confident connection, and how I've gotten over 180 men into great relationships right here in the Bay Area. These guys were still being themselves, but more confident and more skilled in relationship psychology. So who is this going to work for? It really is going to work for any man who is socially awkward or introverted, has no dating experience, or is divorced and getting back into dating. So this process is going to work absurdly well if you've gone on 100-something dates, or if you've never even been on a single date ever. I guarantee you this is unlike anything you've ever seen before. So a little bit about me. I've been coaching in the Silicon Valley for 5 years now. I was born and raised right here in San Jose. I'm certified as a life coach from one of the top schools in the United States. My tools are based in cognitive behavioral therapy and have an emphasis in positive psychology, which is based in science and focuses on improving your dating strength through cognitive reframing, action, and exposure. In the 4 phases my clients use, it moves them past the second date deadlock, right? This is where guys are like, I can never get past a first date. I can never get past a second date. It always ends with, it was nice to meet you. I see you as a friend. There wasn't really any romantic connection. Right? Those dreadful words that we hate hearing. So through this process, you're going to start landing better quality dates with better qualified women. So we train in person in what I call the mental gym. So this becomes muscle memory. So here's the phase 1. It's called the mind frame method. This is where most people are at, right? Most guys are currently having very inconsistent results, right? They're probably not even getting many matches, if any, on the dating app. So there's kind of this date drought. They're not really meeting people in person, and you're ultimately not getting dates regularly. You may not even be getting a single date with women here in the Bay Area. You may see women that you find attractive, but you don't feel comfortable going up to her and starting a conversation. So we're gonna go over why this is happening in the first place. It's happening because of something we call cognitive bias. Now, this is going to be the first principle of getting into an amazing relationship with Bay Area women. So I really want you to pay attention to what I'm about to tell you. If you understand what I'm about to tell you, you're going to be ahead of 99% of men here in the Bay Area who are single and trying to date, but literally they just stay stuck. They just stay stuck. They don't go anywhere. They don't have the dating life that they want. So we have this equation, which is a stimulus plus human equals a response. So for example, let's say you're wanting to approach a woman you meet at a meetup or at a mixer or a party or even a cafe, and you notice she's on her phone. So your brain, instead of finding out if she's busy, it will automatically assume she doesn't want to be bothered. Truthfully, we have no idea, right? She could be scrolling, she could be watching a cat video, she could even be incredibly delighted to have someone come up to her. But because of our cognitive bias, we're going to assume it's not an option because it supports our current belief that we shouldn't go up to women. So by the way, we have cognitive biases for literally everything we perceive. But if we look at it in the context of dating, we can see that there's certain patterns of hesitation, overthinking, second guessing, and avoidance. This has to do with our cognitive bias, because these are things that we'll do, right? These are things that we'll do when our cognitive bias is any of the following. If we believe, I don't want to be creepy, women shouldn't be approached, rejection is bad and should be avoided. This cognitive bias, which is your belief system, which was not your own original belief system, right? This has been conditioned into you. I want to show you how this plays out with women. So let's see this cognitive bias with two groups of women, right? First group is going to be the stereotypical unattractive woman, right? So here's a picture of a stereotypically unattractive woman. Again, this is all subjective. Some men may be like, oh my God, she's gorgeous, right? So I'm just going more off of stereotypes. So just play along with me here. So let's say I told you to go up and approach her. Would this be difficult for you? Why or why not? Why or why not, right? Your thoughts may be something like, well, sure, that's pretty easy. Okay, I can ask her for directions or something. Yeah, maybe it's not a problem. I wouldn't have much to say, but for sure, I could do that, right? So notice how these thoughts will likely create more ease in your approach, less stress, less overthinking, less fear of rejection, and I'll even add less pressure. So now let's take a stereotypically attractive woman, right? This woman. What if I told you to go up to her? Would this be difficult? Why or why not? Why or why not? So your thoughts may be something like, what would I even say? She probably doesn't want to be bothered. She's going to think I'm creepy. I don't want to get rejected. Okay, notice how these thoughts create a lot more internal pressure, fear, anxiousness, confusion, and overall resistance to talking to this woman right here. Because a cognitive bias is what you experience, it actually has nothing to do with the woman themselves. These women aren't putting these thoughts in your head. You're thinking them before you even approach the women. It's practiced cognitive biases you've associated with certain women that protect and uphold your belief system. Because truthfully, some men can see a gorgeous woman like her, right? Some men can see her and think, green light, I'm gonna shoot my shot and this will be amazing. And some men will see an attractive woman like her and think, oh no, she probably doesn't like it when men come up to her. So here's the thing, you see, whether a guy goes up to a woman is completely dependent on him and his cognitive bias. And it's not because of the woman, right? It's not because of her looks, how she carries herself, or the environment you're in. Here's the thing, if you adopt the right perception, likely it will be thoughts you have of low risk or unattractive women, right? If you have thoughts, right, that are similar to this, right? Because typically when we see unattractive, right, I'm putting that in quotes, when we see unattractive women, we take the pressure off. We see them as more like as a friend. We don't make it so high risk, right? It's not a big deal, right? If we have those similar thoughts and we put those thoughts and apply them to women we find extremely attractive, we'll be able to approach literally any woman in any environment with an insane amount of confidence and ease, period. That's just how it works. This is the science of the brain. This is the equation that works. And now we just have to crack the code for you to make it stick, to shatter your current cognitive bias that holds you back from women and replace it with one that makes talking to gorgeous women literally feel like something you look forward to doing. By the way, here's a snapshot of 2 of my clients who have found incredible success with women going through my program. Here's one of my clients right here. For privacy purposes, I'm going to use the name David. So he said, after working with you and the photo shoot, finally I started getting a Bumble match. I've been blaming myself all these times. Thank you for your insights. Before, I had no idea where to start. Now I feel confident striking up conversations with ease. Just today, I had a great, genuine conversation with a beautiful girl at the beach who was walking her dog. All it took was a warm smile and a simple, "you have a cute dog." It's amazing how far a little confidence and curiosity can go. Thank you, coach. And here's another one of my clients. I'm going to call him David, right? He said, "Hey, Julia, sorry for the slow response. Didn't want to say anything until it was more definitive, but actually I did end up meeting someone off the apps here. And it looks like somehow we managed to get me a girlfriend before the end of the year. Thanks again for all your help. The conversations we had were definitely life-changing for me." Amazing, right? Because we worked on their cognitive bias, fix their perception, these guys started getting into relationships with women and are now talking to women like it's a piece of cake. That's the power of this work. That's an example of what we do here. So I'm going to move on to phase 2, emotional processing. So emotional processing is where we obliterate the fear response that shows up when you're talking to women. So this is the nervousness, the sweaty palms, the dry throat, the fast heartbeat, the freezing, the blanking out that happens when you're around women you find attractive. When you get to this phase working with me, you're going to learn how to change these behaviors into behaviors that make you more comfortable around women you're attracted to. We're going to break down phase 2 into 5 subsystems. So if you have these 5 subsystems in place, you're going to be able to go from creepy stranger trying to talk to women to confident and charismatic man who's fun to talk to. So, for example, racing heart becomes steady breath and grounded voice. Body tension turns into warm eye contact and playful curiosity. Freezing and blanking out becomes simple observation, follow-up question, and clear invite. Pedestalizing turns into humanizing and equal footing. Avoidance of a situation becomes a reframe and an approach. For each of these subsystems, we have a measure of where you currently are and where you want to be. Ultimately, these subsystems are the measures in which you can qualify how confident and charismatic you're being with women. Now, at this phase, you're no longer afraid of your emotion. You've learned how to transform really uncomfortable feelings like fear and social anxiety into manageable sensations that you have more control over. By doing so, you're going to get more positive responses from women. You're not going to feel needy, desperate, or clingy. Now, guys, these 3 are happening at a subconscious level you won't even be aware of. This version of you uses rejection as growth. So when we have these metrics, right, these metrics that I listed up here, we can easily see where the bottlenecks are, where you're struggling, and how to fix it. So Gene, for example, he went from rarely approaching women to now approaching a ton of women in a way that feels fun. And we got him to do this in less than 3 months. Actually, very quickly, to be honest with you. This is what Gene says. "For years, I wanted to get better at approaching women, but my progress has stalled. I was initially unsure about working with a female coach, but after trying Julia's workshops, I realized her method was exactly what I needed. Julia addressed the root of my obstacle, namely my self-talk before and after each approach, and systematically helped me rewrite those unhelpful beliefs. Her in-field coaching sessions were a game changer. Every challenge felt tailored to me, pushing me just enough that I gained confidence without feeling overwhelmed. Before Julia's program, I rarely approached the most attractive women or groups. Now, not only do I approach more often, but I've discovered new ways to enjoy the process." I also appreciated how holistic her coaching was. She even challenged my assumptions around partner selection and time management. Meeting people through real-life interactions now feels more fun than relying on dating apps. Okay, so now we're gonna move on to phase 3, which is the live role play. Now, this is the phase where we start taking the new skills you've learned, the mindset shifts you've had, and apply them with me live in person, because my coaching is in person. This is where everything solidifies. Watching this video, you've likely never had someone give you honest, constructive feedback on your blind spots that could be sabotaging your chances with women. So here are the benefits of role play practice. So during role play, again, we're doing this live in person, you and me together. This is gonna build fast confidence with 0 risk reps. So we're gonna be in a safe, repeatable practice, which converts your nerves into steady, grounded presence you can carry into the field. You're gonna develop a reflex, not just theory. So deliberate practice will build muscle memory. You're gonna learn openers. You're gonna learn how to do transitions. You're gonna learn how to be more flirtatious, more bold. You're gonna learn how to invite women out, and this will become automatic. You're gonna get instant micro corrections that are personalized. So real-time tweaks to your tone, pacing, posture, and phrasing targeted to your patterns. Whether you are one who pedestalizes women, whether you're over polite, whether you freeze, that's what we're gonna work on. We're gonna do it in a safe environment so you can practice flirting and being clear in your intentions and your desires. So you're gonna learn playful teasing and clean invitations without being cringy or pushy. You're gonna carry this vibe into your real day-to-day life. You're gonna learn how to be rejection proof and reset skills. So I'm gonna be simulating no, mixed signals, and awkward pauses so nothing rattles you. You're gonna recover gracefully and keep the momentum going. We're also gonna be doing field transfer, right? So we're gonna rehearse in different settings, in cafes, lounges, scenarios that you actually face, and do the reps there with me giving you feedback in that moment. So I'm gonna track your approaches, your invite, your yes rate, and your second date progression so you see what is working. Now we're gonna move on to phase 4. This is where it gets really good, guys. This is the in-field practice, right? Role play is still technically in the field, but now we're gonna be practicing it on real world exposure. Again, I'm right there with you during this process. So this last phase is really important, and it's where the deep level transformation happens. If you're doing these 3 phases, right? The mind frame reset, the emotional processing, and live role play, you're literally going to be ahead of 99% of other men in terms of confidence and relationship skills. But this part, right, the in-field practice, the real-world exposure, is where everything sticks and you're able to do it consistently and comfortably attract women you really like. So exposure practice happens with me live here in the Bay Area. You're not obviously going to be talking with someone on Zoom and going off on your own. No, I'm literally there with you, coaching you in real time, holding you accountable so that inevitably your excuses, your limiting beliefs are going to come up. That's very natural. That's why I'm there in real time to coach you through it. So in this phase, I have a tested process that I take men through, because if you try to expose yourself in settings where you're insanely uncomfortable and you don't know how to handle the situation properly, you will create negative psychological effects that will make you even more afraid to approach women in the future. So we build up the progression again and again and again. And like I said, I've coached over 180 men live. So these tools are tested, right? And I'm meeting with each person exactly where they're at. So here's the thing. I want to share the neuroscience behind how exposure to what you're afraid of works to transform your brain to become more mentally tough. First, we need to talk about the brain and how it works, right? When you freeze around a woman you're really attracted to, but you're fine with anyone else, this is not a personality flaw. It's simply a brain habit. Let me show you how that brain habit forms and how exposure rewires it so you feel mentally tougher and in control. So here's the old habit loop. This is why you freeze, right? Here's what your brain learned to do. You see someone you're attracted to, that sends a cue. Your brain alarm system, the amygdala, flags danger, right? This is gonna go off. When you get nervous, when you see a very attractive woman, let's say at Santana Row or downtown Mountain View, and you get nervous around her, your behavior has been to avoid the situation. And that relief, right? The relief from your own nervousness becomes a reward, right? It's something that you're gonna go to again and again and again. So we just built a habit, right? This is a striatum. This is a part of the brain that stores a shortcut, right? So when you see an attractive woman, you avoid her, you feel safer, right? You feel safer. And each time you repeat this, the pathway gets stronger, so it fires even faster the next time. That's why freezing feels so automatic. It feels like you didn't even think and it happened. But actually, it's just a behavioral pattern at this point. What does exposure do? It literally rewires the brain. The brain relearns. So exposure means you approach on purpose, in tolerable steps, without safety crutches, and two powerful things are gonna happen. First, there's gonna be a prediction error, right? Because right now you expect catastrophe, rejection, embarrassment, awkward silence, even just imagining going up to a woman. But when you actually do it, and that doesn't happen, right, as your brain had predicted, this surprise weakens the old fear route. You start building a new memory that this is safe. I can do this. This really isn't that bad. Okay, the second thing that this does, exposure does, is it has a top-down control. With repeated reps, the prefrontal cortex, which is the planning and decision-making center of your brain, it becomes literally better at calming the amygdala, which is your alarm center of the brain. So the nervousness can still be there, that's okay. But you get your voice back, you get your humor back, you get eye contact back, you start steering again. You start actually doing the conversation that you would want to do. So why does this build mental toughness? Well, mental toughness isn't the absence of nerves. That's not what it is. It's really the ability to act while in fear or nervous mode, because the brain is being more, you can be more logical, right? Your brain has a better map. And exposure gives you that map. There's gonna be fewer false alarms. You're gonna literally have more creativity and a habit pathway that will default to approach, connect, engage instead of avoid. So if your old loop was see pretty woman, have an alarm in your body, avoid, and then get relief, the new loop becomes see pretty woman, get energetic, right? Get energized by it, approach, and you develop competence. You develop a skill, you develop confidence, right? That's a shift. With small, repeated, real-world repetition and no safety crutches, and me helping you along the way right there in the moment, you don't just think differently, your neural pathways actually change. And the conversations you want to have stop feeling like this test or this scary thing, and you start feeling human again, right? Because most guys are doing one of two things when they see a beautiful woman they want to talk to, right? They're either doing number one, which is they say, fuck it, just do it, right? They use willpower. They use this like burst of motivation, which honestly rarely actually ever works. And it's so much more exhausting, and it's very temporary, right? It makes you You can only use willpower for so long until you just give up, right? The second thing guys do is they'll just avoid the situation completely, right? Letting yet another opportunity pass them by. But here's the thing about exposure practice, because at this phase, you've learned my methodology. You've already gotten a ton of reps in with me through role play. So now you're warmed up. Now your brain is actually looking forward to applying these newfound skills, because it's no longer something you fear. You've learned how to process uncomfortable emotions. Rejection and judgment just no longer intimidate you, which is beautiful. So here's the thing. If you were trying to do this by yourself, right? If it were up to you alone, you likely wouldn't know what to say to women you're attracted to, right? That's probably why you're watching this. You're wanting someone to hold you accountable, because doing this on your own, even with friends, is so difficult, and most just simply won't do it. They don't understand the psychology and how the brain works. That's what I teach men, is understanding their brain, understanding their emotions, and how to take action in a confident, charismatic way. Going through all these phases will be what gets you into the exact relationship you want with Bay Area women, period. This is the tried and true method, and I've helped so many men get into long-term relationships using this exact process. These are the foundational tools that are going to take you from novice with women to literally a social butterfly who's grounded and knows what to say to any type of woman. Now, the last thing I want to share with you in this video is that before we do any work together, I want to make sure we have alignment in terms of values and how we do things, so we make sure that we gel well together. I want to share a little bit of my background. If it seems like there's alignment, that's awesome. If not, there's no problem. Feel free to cancel the call. That is completely okay. So before we hop on our call, I want to be transparent about why I do this, why I'm even a coach, why I help men, introverted, shy, more logical men here in the Bay Area. So me personally, I didn't grow up naturally confident. I avoided dating. I hated putting myself out there, and I let social anxiety steer my life. I literally thought I was too ugly, too big to date, and I literally had zero dating life even after getting my master's. I was what you would call a late bloomer. I almost thought being single was the only route available to me. Right? It wasn't until I enrolled in the top coaching institute in the US for life coaching, read pretty much every book on modern psychology, did I start to finally realize my own self-worth was always there. I just wasn't tapping into my own power. I just was letting what I believed as a young kid and the experiences I had as a young kid define me as an adult. So over time, I learned how to reset my mind, process emotions, and practice in real life until connection felt a lot more natural. Because we're not trying to perform here, right? I'm not trying to teach you how to be more performative or be someone other than yourself. That would be pickup artist stuff, which I do not agree with. The reason I coach is because I know what it feels like to be stuck. And I know the exact reps that can help you get unstuck. And I've coached hundreds of men right here in the Bay Area achieve incredible success with women. My program has trained men to become more decisive, more confident, and more naturally charismatic. And it has helped them enter into long-term relationships. I coach because I understand what it's like to feel inadequate. I understand what it's like to want to literally go up to someone, but feel like you can't do it. To feel like, what's the point? To feel like you're not good enough. I get that feeling, and I promise you, I'm dedicating my work so that no other person has to feel like that ever again. Because it's really just us holding ourselves back. This program is unlike any other in the Bay Area that offers this model, the model that I've created with in-field experience. That's why it works. It's based in science and it's repeatable. It will work on you if you're open, coachable, and willing to try something completely different. It takes deep, transformative one-to-one weekly guidance to install a new mental framework. So that's why I offer the program that I do. I've been interviewed by CBS about modern dating, and my goal now is to help hundreds more men achieve the social success and dating success that they want right here in the Bay Area. Now, I just want to let you know that this program is challenging. If you're looking for me to give you answers and just hand you women, and so you don't have to do any work, please just don't sign up for the call. It won't be the right fit. This program is actually very, very challenging because it's going to put you outside of your comfort zone more than anything else that you've likely done. But that's literally the method, right? That is how real transformation happens. And if you have the right framework, it makes the process easy and you'll learn how to handle the discomfort, but you're gonna gain a net positive from the discomfort. You're gonna get better dates, more conversations with women, more interactions with women. You're gonna enter a long-term relationship with women using this method. On our call, I'm gonna ask you where you're at. I'm gonna ask you what you want to achieve and create your specific game plan. If it's a fit, I'll show you exactly how we train this in the Bay Area Mental Gym. If it's not a fit, I'm gonna point you to the next steps that make sense. Either way, you're gonna leave with clarity. If you wanna check out more about me, please check out my YouTube. I post weekly videos there. Thank you guys so much for watching this, and I'm excited to see you at the call. Take care.